get recording. Okay, we are recording. So, hey everybody, thank you so much for hopping on. I know it has been a hot minute since we've done a leadership call, and so it was just on my heart to get them going again. I know we used to do them on Monday afternoons, and we kind of faded away from it. And so I know we've only done a handful this year, and it was just really, really on my heart. Like, I just really want to get these started up. Drop me some kind of comment if these types of leadership calls get you hyped up. Like, what do you look most forward to when we do stuff like this? Because for me, it just kind of gives me like a weekly refresher. And I love not only seeing the leaders on my team's faces on here, but I also love seeing my sideline leaders and all of us coming together to learn something new. And so it was on my heart to get this going. And I thought, I don't know exactly what I have to say right now, but maybe I can get a guest on. And so last night in the Lifers page, Carrie did a really awesome live that was on her heart. And so after I watched that, I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. Like, this is exactly what I want to talk to everybody about. And her message just really spoke to me. And so I reached out to her, and you guys, she was available like the same day. And I'm like, there was a reason why I waited to put the call together. There was a reason why I heard the live when I did. There was a reason why she was available. And so I just feel like we're supposed to be here and hear whatever, happens tonight. So Carrie, I would love for you to just recap the whole thing that happened with the messages that you were getting from God and the woman in the church and what she said to you. And I would just love, because not everybody in here, this is all diamond and above. So if you guys want to drop in the chat what your leadership rank is. And so a few handful of them maybe heard this story in Lifers, but not everybody. So I would love if you would recap that for them.
Okay, so you just want me to say stuff and then you can always ask me questions, or? Okay, so I went live, I guess, in the triples and above page. I think yesterday. No, that was Sunday. Yeah, and so what I heard from this is like so crazy. So God spoke to me when it sounds so weird for me to even say that, because like I think when I look at somebody, like when I would look at people who like really believe in Jesus, like, like when you're like, whoa, she really believes in Jesus, they kind of look a little crazy. And I'm like, damn, I'm the crazy one now.
Well, it was funny because when you were saying, when God says something to you, you're like, are you sure? And it's funny because I know I've been there, like, are you sure? And so I was just glad that you did do the live.
Yeah. So, back in May, I was sitting on my couch and like, I heard that we were going to have like a decrease in the business. And that's what I heard God say. And I was like, what? I said, there's no way, because we were just like on cloud nine, like checks were rolling, things were awesome. And so when I heard that, I told my husband and I was like, okay, I think God just told me that we're going to have a decrease, but like, I don't want to believe it, and I don't want to be negative, and I don't want this to be like my thoughts. Like, I hope this isn't me saying this, because like nobody wants to say that. And so, he said, okay, so what does that mean? That means that it's time to prepare. And so for us, we have gone through a decline in our business before. And so, preparing. Well, okay, so basically I heard that. And then I did not tell anyone except my husband and like maybe one other person, because I was like, I'm not saying that. I ain't speaking that over people, And so it wasn't until church on Sunday I was praying, and I was really praying for my leaders, because I know a lot of diamonds and above live. I mean, diamonds, doubles, triples, we live off this income. But the difference is when we see a decline versus when a diamond and a double sees a decline. It's just, it's a big difference between lifestyle. It's a big difference between living. Like it's harder to see a dip when there's not as much income. And so, I was worried about my diamonds and above, because like I have diamonds and above, I live off this income. And so, I was praying to God, and I said, God, I know you told me this, but when's it going to end? Okay. Like when's the come up? Like, cause he never said how long it was going to be. He just said it was coming. So, and during that time when it said that it was coming, I did a leadership call. I mean, we do one every Sunday, or we do them every Sunday night. And I mean, they don't remember this, but I said, hey, let's start getting smart with our money. That's just always been something that I've always been like, hey, let's get smart with our money, because that's something that I had to learn the hard way, which I'll tell you about what happened. And let's just get really smart with our money, because I've seen dips. I've seen business go like, and that's the thing, you guys, like business is going to go like this. Like we're going to have high times, we're going to have low times, and we're going to have really high times, and we're going to have really low times. And it's just like, but what's really cool is so funny, because when I would go back and watch this video and I was talking about when I saw the decline, I went like this. So it wasn't that you decline forever. There is a point where your business does start to go back up. And so yesterday I was at church and I'm praying, and I was really pissed, actually. I was like just upset. I mean, it was the 25th, all the volume went through, and I was mad, and I'm pregnant. And so I just sat down. I was like, I ain't standing up. I mean, I was like, Jesus, forgive me. But so some lady comes over to us. We've only been going to the church for like 4 or 5 months. She comes over to us, and went back, and she didn't put her hands on my husband. She put her hands on me. And she said, she came from behind me and put her hands on me. She says, I can't remember what she said exactly. I can't remember the first part. She said something about my pregnancy. And then she said, God wanted me to tell you that he was going to make it right. And I was like, what? I literally was like, huh? And so I just bust out crying. And my husband looks at me and he's like, well, are you crying because you're pregnant? Are you crying because this is like a pregnancy hormone? Or are you crying because this is like a word? And I was like, no, it's a word. And I'm bawling myself. So he gets me Kleenexes and stuff. And he's like, well, what? I'm like, well, so I was praying about our leaders, because I'm like asking God, when's it gonna end, and like how's it gonna work, and blah blah blah. Like, and I said to him, God told me He's gonna make it right. I'm so excited. And Tay was like, oh, Carrie, that was not just for you. I was like, what? What are you talking about? He goes, oh no, that's company wide. I was like, he goes, God did not just give you a word for yourself. He said, because he was just talking to this other guy and it works, and he was retired, and he has to go back to work because there was a decline. And so they just can't afford to both live off of one income. And so he said, why would God tell a guy who he called to come, like he called him to come home, and now he has to go back to work? He said, no, God's going to make it right. And I was like, oh my gosh. And he's like, and he gave me this quote, and he said, John Maxwell, he says, when we sit in the back of the room, we have to learn. But when you start to sit in the front of the room, it's time to teach. And it just really hit me. And I literally in church, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to go live on the Lifers page, because God wants me to tell everyone. And I was like, oh no, I don't want to do it. And so it took me like all day to figure out if I was really like hearing stuff. Like I was like, I don't know, did I really hear that? And so then I finally went live, and it's so crazy. Like I had so many messages from so many people, and what was so crazy, like I don't think anybody heard this part except my leaders, because I shared it with them. But somebody messaged me and said, in the video, you can watch the replay if you want to. It's on YouTube. I uploaded it. But in the replay, or in the video, I kept saying that God was going to restore. And that's not a word that I normally use. That's not even a word that I normally use. But like God said He was going to restore our business. He's going to make things right. But I kept saying the word restore. Well, somebody messaged me. I should read you guys the message, because I literally was like, what? This is crazy. Let me see if I can find her message. She's another triple. She might even be on here. Her name? Yeah. She said, hey, Carrie, I listened to your video on the Lifers, and I just want to share a confirmation with you. And this is what's so crazy, is because somebody else I had so many messages, but somebody else had messaged me, was like, oh, it was a confirmation. And so I'm messaging this other girl. I'm like, oh yeah, what's the confirmation? What did God tell you? I like to talk about what God says. And so like, I'm just joking around with her. And then all of a sudden I thought like she was going to tell me something that she like heard, and hers was like, yeah, hers made sense. But then all of a sudden I checked my other folders and this came in at the same time. And I said, whoa, this is crazy. As soon as I was wondering if God really was confirming it, like, which I already knew he was, but this was crazy. She says, I had a lady text me last week that I haven't talked to in months. She used to be a distributor on my team, but she's been canceled. I think I've talked to her maybe once or twice. Anyways, out of the blue, she texted me and said that God had given her a word in a dream for me. She said she doesn't understand what it means, but she is positive that God wanted to share it with me. The word is restoration. I watched your video and I was amazed at how many times you use the restore or restoration. And then she just kind of says something about it, but like, I was like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. And I don't say the word restore, like, so I don't know. I just literally I kept saying it. I was like, why am I saying this word? And so that was just really crazy. But basically what I talked about in the video, it wasn't that I went live to share the word, but it was mostly to say, like, we've been through this. Like, this is not something that, like, oh my God, the sky is falling. I mean, it feels like it's falling and it sucks. But like, we went through this like 2 years ago. I don't know, did you want me to share what we went through?
I mean, you can. I don't want, like, I know I don't want to keep you on like forever. I do have some questions, but if you want to share just like briefly a little bit about that, how you kind of had to like, okay, let's get our crap together.
Yeah. So our income just really drastically dropped. I mean, it was drastic. And at that time, God did not tell me anything. Like, we were just so unprepared, like, because we had gotten into debt. We had just put in a pool. And like, because I think sometimes, like, when our income goes up or everything, like, so does our spending. And if you're not careful, it's like a law. You have to be very, very specific with your money because you make more, which means that you can spend more. And like, unless you create habits. And so during that, we had the low, we just had to cut out a lot of stuff. And this was a couple years ago. So, I mean, I'm telling you, we cut Netflix, we cut cable. I didn't get my nails done. Like, we could not afford to get my nails done because, yeah. Well, yeah. So I like didn't get my nails done. I did stick on. I mean, I literally just cut out so much stuff. We did freezer meals. I didn't want Tay to have to go back to work. And so I knew, like, oh, if we just didn't spend the money and we just, and so what happened is we just started saving it. And over a year or so, like, we paid off all of our debt. And because of the habits that we developed in a low time, we have over a 6-figure savings account. And so, because I knew that if something ever happened again, I did not want to stress about it. And so we were just really fearful. Like, I mean, it was scary. I cried myself to sleep lots of nights because I was like, what is this? And there was people leaving the company left and right. And it was like, it was never that we should leave, because I know that all businesses are ups and downs. And what's so crazy is my parents have a regular business and their business was down. So it wasn't just us, and there was other companies too. And so what I can't remember what I was saying. So, what I was saying is, when I heard that this time, I said, oh, great. But I was like, okay, like, this is not going to be a fun time. But I didn't have fear when I heard it this time because. What? Okay, Mom's on. What is that? Yeah, they're mine. Out. What are they? They're nothing for you. Those are my treats. They're called They're called mints? No, they're not called mints. Chocolate covered raisins. They're so good. Actually, they're yogurt covered, but I don't share. When you're pregnant, you don't share. So I can't remember exactly what I was saying, but that when I heard it this time, I didn't have the fear because I trusted God because, well, he told me, but also that he's provided every other time. Like, he's provided for everything in our life. Like, no matter what we've been through, like, I just think about, even when I didn't even fully, like, I believed in him, but like, there was nothing like that I do now. Like, I still believe that, I don't know, he still took care of me, even when I didn't fully believe. But now it's like, I fully trust. And that's the kind of trust that he's looking for.
I like that. So I hope that you guys enjoy that story, because when I heard that, I was like, it's pretty crazy to hear that ahead of time and have to know, but not like put it out there, but just kind of prepare everybody. So I have a couple of questions. And so like, Sarah and I talked earlier, and I already had these questions in my head, and she's like, if more questions come to you, like, great. If not, then the ones you already had were the ones that you were supposed to ask. So, and I'm going to ask something at the end that's just for me, and then maybe people can relate. I don't know. So, okay, my question is, so there's been a couple times now where this has happened. And obviously, I mean, I've been in for 6.5 years. So we've been in, and there's people on here that have been in longer than me. So we've seen the ups and downs. And obviously, if you're diamond and above, you've been in for some time. So Carrie, my question to you is, I have three, I'm just going to ask you these three questions and you can just answer however you want. But like, my question is, what steps did you personally take to get on the uprise, to get out of the decline, and how did you lead your team there, and how did you show them the way? So like, what are some of the things that you personally did, and how did you kind of take your whole team with you out of that?
Yeah. Well, first too, before I answer that, I was actually thinking about this after I made that video. I had been through another decline in my business besides 2 years ago. It was when I was first diamond, and we had like a thing, and I was paid as a ruby. So like, but I didn't know anything like how this even worked. I was like, oh, I just must not have been working hard enough. And so like 3 years, like, it's just kind of crazy how it works. So maybe it's every 3 years, every business probably does something, So like, I mean, it's fine. Like, and so if you know that, then you can prepare. But here's what I did. So during that time, I actually went on a Disney cruise, and we couldn't even afford to go on the Disney cruise. So I had to sell clothes, and I made just enough money to go on this Disney cruise with Carla Burns. And I also got on Zoom, like Pam had did like a Zoom with the lifers or whatever with triples and above. And she was like, you need to start writing down all of your thoughts. I was like, okay. And Carla was like, I journaled $200,000 a month. And I was like, oh my gosh, if this is all that I have to do is journal, I'm like, I am in. Like, if I can make $100,000 a month journaling, I'm in, got me in. And so during that time, I literally just went to work on myself, and and when I realized what got me out of it was a bunch of books. I read so many books. I started journaling. I started dreaming again, just about things that I want, where I saw our business heading. I started journaling about people on my team. I did a podcast with Pam on this. This is actually what got us here where we are now, is journaling and lots of personal development. What happened, because I was actually talking to my diamonds and above about this too, is that this was the time that they were rubies and emeralds in our business. And so I got really close with them because this is what's so crazy, because this might sound crazy, but when we went through our last decline, I didn't know how to coach diamonds and above. I lost it myself. My mindset was like, I lost it. And my diamonds and above lost it. So you know what? The only people that would let me coach them were rubies and emeralds. And so you know what I did? They were excited. So we got on Zooms. That's when we started like leadership Zooms every Sunday. And it was rubies and above. We just started getting on Zoom every Sunday. And it's so crazy, because when I look back at, how many people we started with, I think we started with like 20 or 40 people. And then the next year, 8 of them who consistently went on every Sunday went double, diamond and above. I mean, it was just diamond, double, triples. And so but during my low is when they were on their come up. Their mindset. And that's what I did. I just stayed close to the people that were, were still actually putting the work and would let me coach them, because sometimes when you lose your paycheck, you just trip out, and your headspace is gone, and you the world is losing it, and you can't stop talking about what's not going right. Well, when you talk about what's not going right, you're going to get a lot more of that. And so I'm trying to even coach my diamonds about. I said, no, don't say that. Please don't say that. Stop saying that. You got to stop thinking that, because I was there and I thought those thoughts, and the check didn't stop dropping until I was I got control of my head, and just went to work on my thoughts. And I got to share this too, because I heard this today, and oh my God, it was so good. And he said, oh my gosh, this was so good. I literally was like, Tay, this is the answer. This is the answer. And so I was listening to the sermon. It's so good. It's it was part of the Marked series on YouTube. I think it's like number 7. It's called How Do We Get Out of This Crap or something. And he basically was telling the story of David and Goliath. And he was saying how when David went up to the hill and he was talking to like the soldiers, he said the soldiers were asking the wrong question. Every day they got up and said, do you see Goliath? Do you see him? Like, look at how big he is. Do you see him? Every day they kept saying, do you see him? Well, when David got up there, he asked a different question. He said, who is this uncircumcised Philistine? Like, that's talking about my God. Like, what happens if I kill him? Like, so he had a completely different question of, so basically he's saying that we're asking the wrong question. So stop saying, and this is me too. I said, oh my God, I kept saying, God, when is it going to end? No, I'm not going to say that no more. I said, how many bedrooms do I want in my new house? And what else do I want? And what I should be making my dream board right now. And so I'm asking different questions now because I know that this is not the end. I know like it doesn't matter like you're going to have to go through this anyways, but now I'm asking the bigger questions like what number do I want to be? How many diamonds do I want? Who else do I want to come with me to the top 150? And so I just started this today because I heard it this morning. And I said, wow, this whole time I've been focusing on lack. Like, when is it going to end? You know, how can I help? No, like, okay, well, ask different questions. You get different answers and you can start taking different actions. So like you have to be I just thought that was so good. It was so good. You got to start asking better questions.
That is so good, and that's crazy that story. Can you tell us where to find that? You said, how do we get out of this crap? Where do you find that?
Yeah, on YouTube. Just search Marked series. I think he's like number 6 or number 7 because there's like, is there 10 videos, 10 or 11 videos? So it's like you'll see it. It says crap is one of the titles.
Okay. So when you were working with like your rubies and emeralds, you said you guys were just getting on Zoom every single day and just working with them?
No, just once a month or just once a week. And we just kind of got together and had gotten this from Jade Hooper is I did a Google Docs or Google Forms where it was an anonymous questionnaire and everybody could ask anonymous questions. And there were some diamonds that got on. I mean, don't get me wrong, like there were some diamonds that got on, but a lot of them, the ones specifically who are like just killing it now are, you know, were rubies and emeralds, you know, then. And so they would get on and just ask questions and it could be anything. So they could say like, why is volume dropping? Or they could say like, well, they can ask any question and I wouldn't know who answered it. And so I wouldn't know who asked it. So I would just try to coach them through, I don't know, people just were heard, I think. And so we just did that and figured out what questions we have. And then I think we talked about what was working like because we do it now. So we do like first 15 minutes is like, because it's 30 minutes. Like this is not like, because people don't want to get on for hours. I'm learning, I'm losing people. And so the leadership comes on, we're on 30 minutes and we're done. Like, I mean, sometimes we go 5, 7 minutes over, but like 30 minutes. Cause then they know, oh, I'm going to get on. It's only 30 minutes. Like I'm not like, it's to the point. So like, that was something that I wanted to be really good about. 30-minute Zooms every Sunday, just kind of connecting, but doing questions and what's working.
So what were you like, okay, so you were getting on with them and working more with them. What were you personally doing? Like, so I guess this kind of leads into my question. Like when you go from that high, so, you know, that's your lifetime rank, that's whatever that's out there, and then you fall. Sometimes it's hard. I mean, I feel like for me personally, it's been hard to be like, I'm a presidential diamond and let's do this. And, being all excited, like, let's go ambassador, where it's like, oh my gosh, I'm like the furthest I've ever been, but you don't want to think about the lack. And how do you and not how you have the faith, but because I feel like a lot of us on here are so loyal, even through those ups and those downs, otherwise we wouldn't be here. But how do you pull yourself through that and work through that? You know what I'm saying? Where like,
yeah. Okay. So I think my 2.0 at that time was like a double but I don't know if I don't think it was maintaining double. I think maybe it was maintaining diamond or whatever. And so, or it was diamond. It had just gone diamond or something. I can't remember. Well, either way, I just remember, and then my ambassador, I had lost ambassador. Like, I mean, so I was like, what? I just kind of like, that's ambassador's kind of like a rank where you're just like, you need a lot of people to come with you. And so like, I mean, I personally just wasn't worried about getting it back. I was just worried about building. And so I was always focused. This is something that like, I was always focused on building new. And so I just was focused. I'm like, okay, let's start building a Ruby. And that's literally what I'm doing now. I'm doing the exact same thing. I told my girls, I said, you know what? I can't do everything, but I can build a Ruby. And I can help somebody go Ruby. And I can build another Ruby. And that's what I'm doing. And so I just built Rubies. I remember just like, I built Rubies on my top line, on my 2.0. And that was what I was doing. And I was building Rubies. Well, no, I did. Yeah, I built a Ruby. No, I built a diamond. I mean, like a Ruby at a time. You know, I built the full 25 people in a diamond. Like I tried to fill the chart. I just pulled out a new chart. And I started there. And I was like, okay, well, I know like if I just keep going, I've done it once, I can do it again. And so like I just started building. And then once I found somebody in the 25 that actually wanted to enroll, even if they just want to enroll customers or whatever, like I started working with them. And then I try to get them to diamond or until somebody wants to go get them to diamond. And then I would move on to my next leg. And that's just what I did. I just started. I just didn't sit because I'm like, okay, well, what can I do? I'm like, I can enroll people. And so I tell my leaders, I said, well, all you can do is all you can do. So just go do that. And the hard part, I think, is like stressing out about everything else. I just let everything else worry about itself. I'm like, I can't do anything about you. So you can just stay there and I'm going to focus on what I can do. And I can bring consistently people in. And I consistently brought people in. Like, when people are like, this is why it pissed me off, because sometimes like back then they were saying like, oh, just work harder. And I was so pissed because I'm like, I am working hard. My husband's, I was so pissed one day. I was like, lost it. I was not happy around the house. My husband was like, if she worked any harder, I would never see her. Like, because I was working hard, because I'm like, I don't want to lose everything, you know, like, I mean, we still made money and stuff, but just, you know, to pay our bills. But I didn't know if it was going to drop anymore. So I was like, okay, so what can I do? I can enroll people. And that's what I did. I worked on, and I focused on fast starts, you know, and built Rubies. I just kept building. So then when I look back at how I went presidential, like presidential was like not even something that I didn't even think. I was like hopeful to even go triple, because I think I was a double, maybe being paid as a diamond. I know I was. And I was like, I don't even know how to I wasn't thinking presidential. I was just like, okay, well, I could work on a Ruby. And then once I got somebody Ruby, I worked on them going diamond, because I skip emerald kind of, because I'm like, and, you know, and then once they got to diamond, I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna start another Ruby. And then that's just what I did. So like, and then all of a sudden, like, we were all doing the Zooms together, and those people were my leaders. And so they started wanting to do it themselves, and they kind of just started enrolling themselves. And then I was like, okay, I can do this. Like, and so I think I just slowly developed that belief over time, because I just kept bringing people in. I don't know. I hope that makes sense.
No, it does. I think so many times, like for me, and I know that a lot of you guys probably do this too, but like I overanalyze things like, okay, but how did you get your team through this? Like, how did you personally get through this? How did you bring them with you? Because I feel like I'm always so worried about like helping everybody, and how can I help and bring them whatever they need, and I'm always worried about that. But when you're like, just build Rubies, I'm like, well, duh, well, duh, Katie, just build Rubies, you know? And so, how were you building through that time? Like, as far as bringing in new people, were you just like ramping up your stories, like messaging more people daily? Like, was there anything that
I don't think stories were just becoming a thing then. I think they were just becoming a thing. And I was like, I don't know if I was even enrolling. I think I kind of maybe was enrolling through stories, but it wasn't, geez, I don't really even, it was such a long time ago. I can't really remember, but probably lifestyle posts and like, or messaging people, but really like, and this is, I think it was a lot of lifestyle posts, but maybe it wasn't like, I think even my lifestyle posts probably got more real because people could relate to me because I was very thankful that we could afford groceries. And I was very thankful that we could do like little things. And I think that maybe that was what helped is that, people they couldn't relate to me, but now they could because I became thankful for $100. I became thankful for $200. And so when a check was deposited or when something like every little thing, I was probably posting about how thankful I was. And it was a lot of, cause I'm reading some of my posts now and going back and it's like, I just talk about how thankful I am for this business and like, how it pays bills or like just how like, and I think part of that time, actually, if I'm being honest, I actually kind of felt like a fraud. I mean, really, because I was like an ambassador, not maintaining. And I was like, how am I even an ambassador? Like, this is not, I don't even feel like an ambassador because like, my rank doesn't say that I'm an ambassador but I realize that it doesn't matter what, like, you are what the system says you are. So don't, like, it's almost like you are who God says you are. So it doesn't matter what it looks like you says you are. Like you are that because you've achieved that. And so it doesn't, and also I kind of think rank is kind of like, whatever now. I mean, because I lost it, it now means less to me because it's just like, oh, well, I'm just thankful that I get my bills paid. Like I'm just thankful. Like, so I think I don't know. I think, I don't know where I was going with that, but
No,
I do.
you kind of like hit on that. Like sometimes I do feel like a fraud, like where I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm trying to figure out how to pay my bills, and I put out there to the world that I'm presidential diamond, and it's kind of like an inside feeling, you know?
Yeah. So those posts that were saying like, oh, ambassadors make like $30,000 a month. I wouldn't make those posts because I was like, I can't say that because that is not something. And so I think it also makes you become more real. You don't have to lie. It doesn't say that you have to lie. You just say, I've been saying now, even to my potentials, I just say, I'm like that we make a full-time income. And I've just been doing this ever since. So my potentials don't really know. I mean, when I'm talking to them, they don't know how much I make and it doesn't matter. They just want to know that they could have something along this line or they could pay their phone bill or they could pay their whatever. So like, you don't have to say that you make $17,000. I mean, if you do, cool. Like I still try not to make those really, really big posts because I don't think that they get the right people.
Right. Okay, so we have a few questions for you. What does your personal development look like? So I know you said I know in your video you said you're reading like a crap ton of books right now.
Yeah. So the book Atomic Habits is phenomenal. Oh my God. That book is like top 5 books I've probably ever read. I just read The Power of Five by John Maxwell, and it was a 2-hour read. It was very good. Actually, I underlined a bunch of stuff. I was shocked at how many pictures I took of the book because it was like really, really good. What else did I read? I read so many, but I would not recommend all of them because I read some and I was like, oh. But I'm really also into Al Schreiter right now. He was like a huge network marketer, top network marketer, and his books are so good and they're so short. They're like an hour and a half to 2 hours long, and I can finish them in about a day. Well, a couple of them I read is How to Build Network Marketing Leaders, Volume 1 and Volume 2. The 4 Color Personalities, if you haven't read that one was so good. Al Schreiter wrote all these books. I mean, I'm telling you, they're really easy reads and they're just gold. And I read another one today and it's called How to Get Instant Trust, Belief, and Rapport with People. And he wrote it.
What's his name? What's his last name?
Al Schreiter, big Al Schreiter. If you Google him too, he's really big. Huge network marketer. I mean, he perfected his craft. And so I'm like, wow, if he was that successful, I can learn things. And what I'm learning is like, wow, these are things that I've heard people kind of like say, but he tunes into them and like, why say this? And it's just really, really good. His books are like, I actually want to buy every one of his books. They're like $4. So it's easy for me to like buy it too. Cause I'm like, oh, it's only $4. And actually, when I was thinking about it, I said, it's only $4 and it's actually a really short book, but it's okay because it's really good information. So And I bet they're even cheaper if you buy the real book. This is on Audible.
Right.
So they're $4 on Audible.
So another question. Oh, thank you for sharing that. I think everybody was like scrambling to write everything down because it was all so good. Um,
What? Big Al trained Sarah?
Apparently.
Wow.
Somebody had the question of training new distributors. Um, I feel like this has been a little bit of a, not challenge, but we've been trying to kind of revamp the way we've been training new distributors. So somebody had the question of, how do you train your new distributors? Like, what are maybe some of the first steps that you give them? How do you do things to keep, and I guess to keep them in? Like, what do you find that's working to like keep them in, like, retention?
So I feel like I've tried so many people's trainings and stuff, like, and but what I found just recently, like what I'm really, really noticing when I go back and I look at, the new distributors that have stuck with me or the new distributors that have built their own team. And there's one key difference. And I figured this out the other day and I was like, oh my God, why do I not always do this? And I don't know why, because I get lazy sometimes. But the number one thing is I get it, like getting them on FaceTime or getting them on Zoom. And it's normally the first 15, like as soon as they sign up, I just say, hey, you have a quick 10 minutes. Let's hop on FaceTime or let's hop on Zoom. And they normally do because they're really excited. Like, and they might be a little nervous, but like they're pretty excited. And I just basically tell them that I'm a real person and they see me and I normally look like a mom. And so like, and I just ask them what their why is, why they join, how much they want to make. And I tell them, Brianna, I learned this from Brianna. And I tell them how, I just say, hey, I just want you to let you know these are 5 things that we do to work this business. Like, these are 5 things I'm going to teach you how to do. We post, we reach out to people. We're going to grow your network and we're going to do some personal development and we're going to follow up with people. And so I just say, these are 5 things I do every single day. And I'll teach you how to do these things basically. And I say, so now your first goal is 4 customers. And I explain what a loyal customer is, because I think when I explain it to them, instead of tell them what it is, but I explain it and say like, okay, so it's just like Costco. They like get it. And then I say this, which is gold, because I just learned this in my book today. I say, so, you can either buy retail price, or but then I say you can pay retail price, which is, more money, but everyone signs up to be a loyal customer and I say everyone. And it's so crazy because I'm listening to this book today and he says, you have to say many people, everyone. He said most people, because everybody wants to be a part of what everybody else is doing. And so when I say it to them, they like, it just makes sense. And they're like, oh, well, of course, everyone wants to be a loyal customer. And so then they're not scared to sign people up. I mean, I tell them what the deal are. Well, you can pay $50 or you can, so I tell them so they're not like blindsided, like, and why they need to do the 90-day challenge so they can get the best results. And so basically I just explained it. And I said, this is for a little, then I don't know if I told the one girl or I showed her how to sign up a customer. I'm going to start doing that because like, they just don't know how to sign customers, which I got that from Kiana. I'm like, if you just tell them, hey, show them, this is how you sign a customer. You're going to go to your website and you just explain, like you just show them. Now they can't say, well, I don't know how to sign a customer. Yeah, you do. I showed you how. And so that's something that I'm going to, because I think I showed one girl. Either what's so crazy is I noticed a trend in a lot of the girls that have been successful and the ones that haven't, the ones that I got on FaceTime, even if they didn't start off really fast, they're the ones that ended up going because they believed, I don't know, they had I built some type of rapport with them. I don't know what it was, but they believed in the business because they knew that I was a real person, I think. And like, it's crazy when I go back and look, the people that I FaceTime with are the ones so it's the only thing. And I mean, I think that you can train people, you're never going to train them in the wrong way, but if you get them on that FaceTime call, that's the one thing I've noticed makes like the game changer.
And I think that goes back to whatever the phrase is, where it's like people will quit on a business, but it's harder to quit on a person. Mm-hmm. And so, because I've noticed that, because like you just said, I have somebody on my team where she's been around this whole year and she hasn't gone anywhere because we've gotten face to face a couple times. But then like the girls that I signed up that we never got face to face, they go. So, okay. Well, I think that was all of my questions. I really just wanted to, just kind of talk about working through, I don't even want to say like the decline because I hope that it's, over and we're in restoration. But I just kind of wanted to talk, about working to the uprise. And just, I don't know, I guess just when I saw your video, I was like, wow, like, I feel like not that we should talk about it all the time, but that, you're not alone. And that, I think that things that you said, like about, it's different when you're a diamond or double and your check goes down, and everything that you said, I just think that everybody needed to like hear that they're not alone, and that it's going to get better.
Yeah, it is going to get better. And so I was thinking about that today too. I was like, I said, like I was saying, when you go into the valley, you always are getting ready to go into another mountaintop. And so like now is the time, that's why I said that now is the time you have to start growing, because if you don't grow, then you won't go. And so I'm like, you have to grow into the next mountain, and you're always going to have to grow into the next mountain. So like, and there's never not going to be a struggle. There's never not going to be like you're always going to go through situations and stuff. And so I think, yeah, I guess that's what I love about our little leadership students is like just maybe preparing people. Like, so I knew that after I came out of that, I started saying like, hey, when you come into money, we need to get really smart. Like, cause we were talking rubies and emeralds. I said, when you really come into money, let's figure out what can you do now that you can start paying off debt. And that was something that we trained at the end of the year. I said, okay, what debt do you have now? Or what do you want to do? What, like, do you want to pay $100 every month extra on your credit card bill? Do you want to pay an extra $100 every month on your student loans? Because what happens is you start building these habits so that all of a sudden when that money comes in, well, you're already prone to start paying things off, or you're already prone to start saving or whatever it is. And so I was just really big on working with people just to be really smart with your money, because when you have money in the bank, I personally think you rest a little easier. Like, I mean, I'm very thankful because I went through that, because now if we go through it again, like it's not as big of a deal because I prepared for this. And when he told me in May, I had already, like, we were already putting in a pool. So all of our money was already going to the pool. So it wasn't like I had time to prepare, but I had already prepared. And so I just tried to tell my team, I didn't tell them there was a decline. That was not something. I just said like, hey, let's be smart with our money. But most people don't want to hear it. And people don't want to hear it until it's almost too late. And then that's why God said, oh, you all have to go through this, because you have to learn the lesson yourself. And here's what, I got to tell you this, because there were people that went through that with me, and they didn't learn the lessons that they had to learn. And this time around, they were not prepared. And now they have to learn. And so you just, I'm saying, ask God and say, God, what lessons do I need to learn from this? Because you do not, when you go through this a second time, you want to feel like I feel now. You want to feel trusting and like knowing that everything, like, it's going to be great. I'm gonna buy another house. Like in my head, I'm thinking like because I'm getting out of that lack state, but I'm saying like, learn the lessons that you need to learn, because there's a reason that you're going through this. And some people are going to go through it harder than others because maybe you have not saved. Maybe maybe you're in debt because you don't know how to manage your money. And so these are the times that God says, oh, well, you can't go so far because I'm going to give you more and you can't manage what you have now. And so those are things, I'm just telling you, because I see it. I said, what? I said, we went through this together. How did you not prepare? Like, we made a lot of money since then. And like, don't keep getting on the buying thing. We don't just buy stuff to buy stuff because it makes us happy. I was having a hard time buying some Ray Dunn stuff today, because of the habits that I had already developed, and so just because you can afford it doesn't mean that you should buy it, and so if you don't, I don't know, maybe do Dave Ramsey, do whatever you have to do. I didn't have to do Dave Ramsey because I believe in credit cards and Jesus and stuff. And so if that's your thing, you can do it and stuff. But I was able to do Carrie's way, credit cards for Carrie. Pay them off monthly and get all of the benefits.
Oh,
But I mean,
that's hilarious. Well, I think we can relate to that obviously. And I have never done the Dave Ramsey thing, but I know it's like all cash and envelopes, and obviously, like we don't carry a lot of cash, So especially when this is our only income, like direct deposit. Hello. So, yes, and so I mean, and a lot of you guys know my story, but like, I mean, did some major spending back in 2016 when I went presidential, and it's some rough lessons. But Sarah always will say, like, I couldn't tell you, you just had to learn it the hard way, but sometimes you just have to do it that way.
It is. That's crazy.
So anyways, well, we just appreciate you being on with us so much and just kind of um, saying things that we can relate to and just pouring life into us. And we're very excited for the uprise, and we're excited to go into green carpet, and excited for the double fast starts and everything. And you'll be at green carpet now because you don't have to fly, right?
Yeah, I'm not that far. I'm only like 20 some weeks. So I mean,
Nice.
yeah, I'm at 20 weeks. I'm 20 weeks today.
Congrats.
Yeah.
And I saw on your Facebook you're having your girl finally.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Well, congratulations. Well, yes, we all appreciate you so much. So I don't want to take up any more of your time. I promised everybody that it would be short and sweet tonight. And I guess there's only one thing that I want to add, you guys, and it's that I don't know. This has nothing to do with like the money and the checks, but it's been on my heart. Um, going through all the new training videos, the videos on the products are very brief. So what I think that we can really step our game up with is talking about the products, making sure they're getting them in their hands. And like I just did a product training in the crew the other day, and just teaching them what goes with what do you love, what should they try. And I think that we should step our game up more with talking about products, because we have come out with so many new products. And Carrie, I did this live in our team page, and I was like, I need to have the computer up because I need to like make sure I know what I'm talking about with all of this new and updated, stuff. So it was just really on my heart to tell you guys that I really think that's something that we need to do, because I think that if they feel more confident about the products and what they do and what works together, they will feel confident going forward, and hopefully, having bigger orders.
Dang, that's good.
Bringing in more customers. So anyway, that was just the last thing on my heart that I wanted to share. So yeah, I hope you guys all have an amazing night. And Carrie, we appreciate you taking the time out from your family to be with us.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you in a few weeks. Bye, you guys.